Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I will be doing an election prediction between Nikki Haley and Amy Klobuchar. Nikki Haley, as we all know, is the former governor of South Carolina and former ambassador to the United Nations under Donald Trump. Amy Klobuchar is the incumbent senator, one of the incumbent senators from the state of Minnesota, and former candidate for president of the United States in 2020. Assuming that this is true, Klobuchar would then run again in 2024 and this time become the nominee. Klobuchar, more of a moderate Democrat, less of the progressive side. As we all know, progressives include Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and members of the Squad. More moderate, and then the conservative Democrats, including, and then if you want to use the whole spectrum, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, even Chris Coons could be considered conservative Democrats. Nikki Haley, definitely another one who is a more moderate Republican on the spectrum. Her, Pence, more moderate. More conservative would be considered Trump and DeSantis and Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz. And then more liberal Republicans would be considered Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, Susan Collins, etc. But right before we get into this video, go ahead and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are now nearing 250 subscribers. We're at 221. So go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel so we can get a quarter of the way to 1,000. We are nearing 250 subscribers. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get right into our safe Klobuchar states. This will include, if I can get my mouse to work. Apparently, it's not going to be working, so I'm going to have to use something else. This will include the East Coast, as well as a lot of these northeastern states that are usually considered safe. And there we go. 181 safe electoral votes for Amy Klobuchar, which is essentially the usual amount that I allocate. Now, safe for Nikki Haley. Although she went against Trump following January 6th, I do think she still would consolidate a significant amount of the Republican vote. She would probably be making amends with Trump if she were to become the nominee in some way. And she would still consolidate a lot of these safe Republican states that we have seen be safe before. I think that she'll do particularly well among suburban women, while Klobuchar's advantage will be in the Rust Belt. Now let's get to likely Democrat states. This will include Minnesota. This is Klobuchar's home state. Very popular there and wins by double digits frequently. Also, Colorado and New Mexico. Colorado and New Mexico, more Klobuchar states. A lot of the, Jared Polis type politicians do very well there. And I think that Klobuchar will do the same, as well as Maine at large. Maine at large will go to Klobuchar by a safe margin. She has that northeastern appeal and the Rust Belt appeal. Nikki Haley for likely Republican states still would win Iowa and Ohio by a likely margin. I still think she has that Trump popularity. If Trump were to endorse her and were to back her, she would win those rural areas and carry those states by likely margins, most likely 7 to 8 points, similar to Trump back in 2020 and 2016. Another likely Republican state would be Texas. Nikki Haley would win Texas by a likely margin, probably slightly over 5 points, much more to the lower end of the likely margins, as I put in my description below. Still a likely win for Haley in Texas with those 40 electoral votes. Those are going to be all the likely Republican states, and let's move now to lean Democrat states. First lean Democrat state will be the state of Michigan. I see Amy Klobuchar winning the state of Michigan by a lean margin, doing particularly well in those Rust Belts. Joe Biden, similar margins. I see Klobuchar winning that by 2.5 points, continuing that Minnesota trend, as well as the state of Pennsylvania. I think that Amy Klobuchar will win Pennsylvania, continuing the Rust Belt trend aforementioned. Those will be the only lean Klobuchar states in this election cycle. Lean Haley states will be Maine's 2nd Congressional District, as well as Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District. Maine's 2nd will tilt back a little bit more to the Democrats with a more moderate candidate like Klobuchar. However, Trump did beat Biden by a significant margin there in 2020, and Haley, I think, under Trump's belt, could continue that trend. Nebraska 2nd, Haley doing much better among suburban women. Another area, Florida, will go to Nikki Haley by a lean margin. A big win for Republicans in Florida. And once more, Nikki Haley will win the state of North Carolina by a lean margin, continuing the suburban women trend. And I do believe some Hispanics will come out and support Nikki Haley in similar margins, possibly even more to Trump, as I see this trend among Hispanic United States citizens continuing to go to Republicans. That makes us very, very close as we head into the tilt Democrat and Republican states. First tilt Democrat state will be New Hampshire. New Hampshire will go to Amy Klobuchar by a tilt margin. I think that Nikki Haley will make it very, very competitive there. That New Hampshire state is similar, seems to elect politicians similar to Nikki Haley as we see in Chris Sununu. Much more moderate people, and people that have one of those kind of appeals to, I really don't even know what to call it, the Northeastern appeal. Although I think Klobuchar will win the other Northeastern states pretty handily. New Hampshire slightly different in that regard. Another tilt Klobuchar state will be the state of Wisconsin. I see her taking and holding on to the Rust Belt by a tilt margin, continuing that Rust Belt trend. Let's head over to some Nikki Haley tilt states. Arizona will be tilt to Nikki Haley. I think that she will win back some of those McCain voters and win Arizona again by a tilt margin. I also see Nikki Haley winning the state of Virginia, flipping that state to the Republicans in an incredibly spectacular victory there for Nikki Haley, getting a lot of that suburban women vote out, similar to what Glenn Youngkin was able to do this year in 2021, flipping the state of Virginia for the first time in now decades, or slightly over a decade, I guess. Actually, no, this would be 2 decades since it happened, so flipping it for the first time in 20 years, going back to the Republicans. Let's head over to some tilt Klobuchar states. I see Georgia tilting to Amy Klobuchar, which means that Amy Klobuchar will win the presidency, including she will also win Nevada, getting a lot of those Carson City, Las Vegas support out. Although I do think that they will be a bit upset economically. However, I think they will stay in the Democrat category with Klobuchar, a much more moderate candidate. However, if it was somebody like Elizabeth Warren, AOC, Bernie Sanders, would go Republican, or even Kamala Harris. But with somebody like Amy Klobuchar, I see it barely tilting to the Democrats. Klobuchar wins 278 electoral votes to Nikki Haley's 260 in an incredibly close election between a moderate Democrat and a moderate Republican. Very, very interesting race and a very close one. However, Amy Klobuchar goes on to become the 47th president of the United States, serving until January 20th, 2029. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to go ahead and subscribe, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Like the video and comment below if you would have characterized any states differently. Once more, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.